learners are the center of all the transaction. Hence, it has to be every activity should be learner centered, and we have to gear up. We have to strategically address each and every individual learner's needs, so it has to be personalized. So both the teachers and students, they thrive as the co-creators of the knowledge. And slowly and steadily, all of us, we have to work together to get the maximum benefit of AI technology, and to uncover, discover, and innovate the new facets of educational ecosystem. Today we'll be discussing about pedagogical leadership, and it's a new concept of this educational leadership, instructional leadership, etc. Now, how it has come up as the new dimension, new concept, new domain, and new component in the field of education, that we'll discuss. So now I'm sharing my slides for detailed discussion. Okay. So pedagogical leadership and then changing paradigms, why it has come up to the limelight all of a sudden in 21st century, this stage at this. So before that, we'll just discuss a little bit background of it, and then how it has come up as the big concept, big, very vital component in the field of education, administration, etc. Now, what does a pedagogical leader do, and how he is different from others? It is very common that we have been very much familiar with educational leadership, instructional leadership, what the leaders are supposed to do in the field of education, different models of education, etc., etc. Now, why this pedagogical leadership has become very important and very vital in the present day? The thing is that because it has emerged as a new concept, new connotation of leadership, we can say, because of n number of challenges that we're facing nowadays, and is the emergency of emergency of certain factors like AI and generation Gen Z, general learners, and then many kind of globalization, post globalization components, etc. Now let us discuss about what these pedagogical leaders they're supposed to do. Yes, as the name implies, it is that combination of pedagogy and the leadership. So suppose leaders must have these leadership qualities. It is also mandatory. It's an essential. At the same time, he has to understand pedagogical implications of being a leader in an educational institutions. Therefore, it refers to primarily to define it in a very clear way. That is the vision. He should have the vision for the curriculum, pedagogy, learning outcome, possible learning outcomes, and how it can be implemented, in the knowledge domain, in the teacher training domain, in the educational school education and higher education domain. So that is the leader must be a visionary to set up the curricular, keeping pace with the current emerging challenges and emerging requirements, skills, competencies of the young generation. Second is that pedagogical leader, he has to articulate design and direction of pedagogical process. Use different subjects, different domains, different subjects at different stages have the different pedagogical strategies they used to do. So their leader has to clearly define and design the different directions of these pedagogical processes, attributes, design, etc. Depending on the subject domain, depending on the age or the category of the learners, colors, and the discipline and the level of institutes. So he has to show the clear direction of the pedagogical processes and how it goes on, how it should move on. At the same time, he has to clarify the pathways of the learning. The pathways of learning, learning is a continuous process. Learning is a ongoing process, lifelong process, etc. So how it moves, it's just like a river. So the leader has to clarify at each and every step how the learning should move on, the learning process should move on, and what are its scopes at every stage, and how the learners they experience the whole learning processes. What are the outcomes of the learning in these processes, and how these learning outcomes can be can be befitted in different kinds of different kinds of skills, and developing this different kinds of skills and competencies, etc. And there its applications in our real life domain. So therefore these the next is that yes, the leader is pedagogical leader is supposed to inspire. He is not just a teacher, tutor, facilitator, instructor, but also mentor. So here mentor means he has to look into the overall all round development of the learners, and he has to empower the learner. And it again, it's all these learning processes, education processes, pedagogical processes, these are lifelong. So the leader has to, the pedagogical leader has to not just not to be just inspired leader, but also mentor for the holistic development of the learners, empower them for the lifelong learning, so that how to motivate the learners so that they can keep on, they will keep on, then carry on this learning throughout their life. And they should place the curriculum, instruction, assessment of the at the center. That means here the primary focus is on course content, curriculum, instruction, technology to be used for the instruction, how to assess, evaluate the things. So here the leader is supposed to do many things, many tasks. But here the in this kind of leadership, its primary focus is on the curriculum, instruction, content, and transactions, etc. Now, similarly, that means again this pedagogical leadership is not just relevant for the students, but it is equally relevant for the colleagues and the teachers, etc. So taking into account this, the teachers training programs, teachers education, teachers professional development programs, then upgrading their knowledge and competencies in the tech or AI or technology, etc. These are also the responsibilities of the leaders to carry forward. So they are so you can say in overall, in totality, we can say they are the change agents, but keeping pace with the current demands of the current demands of the techno society, techno based educational systems, and emerging global sustainable education models, etc. So they are the visionary change agents who shape the teaching processes, experiences, the work culture, the ecosystem of the educational institution. And here they have to emphasize on more of collaborative learning, more of cooperative learning, problem based learning, and to practice ethical strategies to be to be very responsive, to be very compassionate towards all stakeholders. Yes, of course, teacher and students are very important components, but at the same time, we have to take into account other stakeholders, like the other employee staffs, then community people, then parents, then other organizations, maybe other associations, organizations, and the people who are indirectly related to the education system. So here the whole education system or ecosystem is holistic. Here ecosystem is holistic. So the pedagogical leaders are supposed to do many things, but primary focus on being visionary leader in designing the curriculum, finding out the interactions, implementing the innovative pedagogical strategies, and looking again at the same time looking into the equality, justice, then inclusiveness, and the tech savviness and technological access and quality of education towards every stakeholder. So now the traditional, all of us, we know the traditional paradigms of leadership in education. Primarily, it was more of, prescriptive kind of from top to bottom. Like, the principals, the headmasters, they explain, they are the actually decision makers. They explain, they give the, notice, memos, and they prescribe, they give the order regarding this would be the content, that should be the content, this is the academic calendar, this is the curriculum strategy, etc. They used to dictate or decide, but now this is the traditional educational model. Now similarly, more emphasize more onto the rules and regulation, curriculum, how the curriculum delivery should be done, and what should be the deadline to meet, the standardized outcomes should be there, how to care about. It is more of centralized kind of thing. So it is more then similar. The classrooms are also very teacher-centered classrooms. So here more of knowledge. The knowledge transaction is primarily one way. The teacher says, and the listeners are the learners are in the receiving end. They're the passive learners rather than the active learners. Now this has been changed into the base since 21st century. It has been changed. Now why it has been and is, of course, it still evolves, and it is an ongoing process. Similarly, if you compare compare our educational patterns, the system before COVID and after COVID, there are also differences. So it is evolving. So every day on the daily basis, on the regular basis, it is evolving. So now the primary reason of this pedagogical shift, why we're talking about pedagogical leadership in 21st century, especially in the present, in the age of AI and digital tools, etc. One reason you can say very well, that is the technological advancement and the globalization. So where knowledge is, knowledge is open source, available open source in the open source platforms. Knowledge is, its volume of knowledge is very, very large, and it's free. It is free to share and etc. There is no, no such restriction, and easily accessible to everybody, etc. But yes, again, but it's just like an ocean of knowledge, etc. And moreover, on the top of that, the technology is there. So here the teacher's role, that is why it has the teachers has, the leaders, they have to be also tech savvy, so that they can guide properly their teachers, their students, learners, and educate them. So how to carry forward the curriculum transaction, etc. At the same time, to run the business administration through online transaction, etc. So that is an emerging challenge because of the globalization technology. We need to update our curriculum, leadership model, etc. And moreover, in post globalizations, there are the high demand of the 21st century skills. Besides the domain skills, core skills, there are some of the skills like competencies like critical thinking, creative thinking, collaborations, problem-based learning, solving abilities, communication skills. All these are of the high demand. So that is another way of, that is why we have to focus, the teachers, they have to focus or you can say they should transform their pedagogy transaction, teaching learning transaction towards these kind of skill development among the learners, because now the learners are not just passive listeners, they are the active thinkers, active performers, active doers also. So the teacher's role is primarily as a facilitator, and how an educational leader or pedagogical leader can also guide and train and educate the teachers to carry forward these kind of things for the better learning outcome. So the whole concept, the definition of education and teaching learning has been shifted, or you can say transformed from one end to another. Nowadays also pedagogy, teaching, etc. It comes under the domain of learning science. It's not confined to particular discipline or subject. It is under the learning science. Learning science includes both the content, context, pedagogy, to educational tools, everything. It comes under learning sciences, and that is to update ourselves. Also, we need to engage ourselves in various kinds of research activities. That is why more nowadays, more emphasis is being given to qualitative research, more constructive and experiential learning practices, like how constructive approach. That means the teacher is not just to teach there, but the learners there are not just the receivers, but they are the active thinkers. They are the content creators. They have to think, transform, and create the new content that means new content, so that they follow the constructivist learning strategies, then experiential, like in the real life context, how to experience the real life situation and learn from that situation. That is experiential learning, and socio-emotional learning, like in the classroom, both in online and offline classroom, how the class environment, the school climate, the educational environment, ecosystem climate should be socio-emotionally conducive. Okay, so that every student, every learner feel comfortable, exchange their thoughts and ideas, getting engaged, emotionally involved, getting engaged in all kinds of discussion activities, etc. That is why socio-emotional climate of the learning situation has also been emphasized. Now, of course, the policies also change with the NEP 2020. Also, the policy also get transformed. Like now, with the NEP 2020, greater emphasis is being given to accountability, holistic education, sustainability component to be introduced in education domain, and socio-emotional learning. All kinds of things are coming up in this in the domain of the education as prescribed in NEP 2020. Now, therefore, the pedagogical leadership has emerged as a very important factor. That we can say this is a transformation in the leadership attributes, leadership characteristics. So we are very familiar with the distributed leadership where the responsibility is being shared among the school, student, teachers, and communities. Transformational leadership is more of inspiration, being the inspiring leader and the innovative, inspiring leader to motivate everybody for innovation, to be creative, to be reflective. That is the transformational leadership. That means who inspire others to bring transformation, to accept change, and to bring the transformation, complete transformation, positive transformation. That is 360-degree transformation, not just in the content, context, and pedagogy, etc., but also in the transactions also. So learner-centered focus definitely is in the constructive learning, cognitive era, constructive learning, teaching era. Learner, it is more, everything is learner-focused, prioritizing their students' requirement, their inquiry, their entry behavior, their aspirations, their requirement, etc. And so that is why in learner-centered education, it is more of personalized learning. How to, how to cater to the individual needs, requirements of each and every individual learner. So even if we are using the online platform, digital platform for the teaching and learning, again, it has to be personalized again. So personalized learning, that is catering to the needs of each and every individual learner. So personalized learning has become very important. Then collaborative culture. Now in online also, both in online and offline, we have to build the learning communities. We have to build a network. We have to collaborate. So that is the reason for the teachers to co-create the knowledge. Like in learning communities, both in online and offline learning, we have to create a community, like a community, that different groups of learning communities across the discipline, across the domain, across the generations of learners, across the countries and continents. So building the professional learning communities. Now all of us, we are familiar with, teachers are becoming the members of different associations. They used to go visit the conferences, this and that, etc. So besides that, the learning communities are also there. So equity, then thereafter comes the equity and inclusion, addressing the diverse need of the cultural context, diverse needs of the cultural context, needs of the cultural context, and social justice of education. Again, nowadays with the haves and have-nots, like techno-savvy, technology, internet has become the mandatory component. But again, because there are also some differences, some diversity, because the learners who are studying from the remote areas may or may not have the equal access for the digital tools, even though we are trying our best to bring that uniformity, bring that accessibility. But however, depending on their background, their language, their cultural aspects, etc., the diversity is there. So even the diversity is there, but how to bring social justice into the education, that irrespective of their differences in caste, creed, context, etc., how to bring the uniformity in terms of delivering the education. So building a positive learning environment. So that is, it has become very important, bringing a positive learning environment. So with the new knowledge, new skills, and more of, nowadays also research is also more not just interdisciplinary, but with transdisciplinary knowledge. So that is so the learners are required. So that is why the learners are also required to shift the information at the one level to another level, depending on the different kinds of context. So here the practice of effective learning management skill also are using a lot of the importance in for continuously progressing. Traditional paradigms, so these are the features where traditional paradigm, that the leaders were the decision makers, and they primarily focus on complying the rules and regulations and their delivery dates, standardized outcomes. They were more focused on the traditional leaders. They were more focused on this compliance of educational requirement, and it was a more teacher-centered classroom. Now the reason of paradigm shift is that because of the globalization technology, because we are the open source, we're in the age of digital tools, AI, and open source of resources, and moreover the different types of jobs and occupation, it requires 21st century skills and competencies, where critical thinking, creative thinking, collaboration, and communication skills are becoming more and more important. And yes, and another thing is that as because we are working, we are teaching, we are transacting all kinds of our responsibility in the 21st century in the global context, and all these things, all the educational pedagogy, the administrative relations, administrative works, then in teacher student relationship, all kinds of research, everything, it comes under the domain of learning science. Hence, in this learning science domain, in the globalization context, more and more emphasis is being given to constructive approach, experiential approach, and socio-emotional learning. So, all of a sudden, both in online and offline, socio-emotional learning has emerged as the most important factor, because in the online classroom and the physical classroom, probably we are having more opportunity to interact physically with the learner students. There is more scope for the discussions, etc. But in the online platform, why it is important to create the socio emotional learning environment ecosystem? Because in offline, that is in online context, each and every learner should be equally engaged, and they should be motivated, properly motivated. So socio emotional learning has emerged as the most important factor in 21st century post COVID era. So and if you want to carry on this for sustainable education, sustainable pedagogy, etc., so socio emotional learning domain has also become very important. So now, and all these things, how to update ourselves unless and until we do sufficient kinds of research, whatever, suppose innovative pedagogy we are introducing, like flipped classroom or blended classroom, experiential learning, project based, whatever we are applying, we are using, we are we are experimenting on the new pedagogy, then again definitely we have to update it through research. So research has become very important in the learning science domain. And moreover, with NEP 2020, there is a policy shift. Greater emphasis is being given to the accountability, inclusiveness, equality, holistic education, all kinds of things. So now coming to emerging paradigms. Therefore, in emerging paradigms in pedagogical leadership is that earlier it was more of no. So pedagogical leadership takes into account all attributes of a leader, like educational leader, like a distributed leadership. That means here shared leadership, shared responsibilities also there. The responsibilities are being shared among the students, teachers, and community. Equal. They are equally distributed among all the stakeholders. So community people are also equally involved, teachers, parents, students, everything. So it is a shared shared leadership, distributed leadership. And it is also at and in the today's world, that this is also emerging the new aspects of leadership, the transformation leadership. The leadership who is a visionary leader, who inspires the learners, who himself is a keen to innovate and emphasize on the creative thinking, reflective, and how to use the reflective practices. So all these kind of leadership attributes like inspiration, innovation, creativity, reflective practices, everything should be used uniformly, intermittently, to bring transformation in the complete educational ecosystem. So why educational ecosystem? Educational ecosystem, it focuses on holistic development, and it takes into account all aspects: content, curriculum, pedagogy, learners, engagement, everything A to Z. So transformational leadership has also been emphasized. Similarly, it is more of emerging paradigm is also more of the learner-centered focus. It is no, we are in the constructive learning era. Said learners are at the center of the whole educational practices. That is why it is to be learner-centered focus. So when it is learner-centered focus, the learners are they are the agents. Their priority should be given to learners, because to address their individual needs, their queries, their inquiry, etc. So learners are the center of all the transaction. Hence, it has to be every activity should be learner centered, and we have to gear up. We have to strategically address each and every individual learner's needs. So it has to be personalized. So with AI, with technology also, how every learning lesson, every classroom should be personalized. So it is every learner in his home, in his individual space, whenever he is learning, even though he is learning in the online classroom, it has to be personalized. So attributes to be added for to personalize the learning in terms of tutorials, in terms of learning communities, in terms of AI tools, in terms of evaluation processes. So it has again personalized learning, how every individual learner can personalize the whole learning experience as per his requirements, needs, and queries. Now, again, at the same time, we are also emphasizing on the learning communities, building professional learning communities, online learning communities where the teachers are the co-creators of knowledge, and the teacher and students collaborations are also there. So it is a collaborative work, collaborative culture. So at the same time, we have to focus, the leaders, they have to focus on equity, inclusiveness, equality, justice, and quality education to all. So to address the diverse needs, cultural context, diversity, social justice, everything, all aspects, these administrative policy issues are also to be addressed. Then building a positive learning environment. Overall, that is the overall ecosystem. It should be full of new knowledge, new skills, emerging skills, more interdisciplinary strategies, research and informations, etc. And learning. And now we are also using learning management system, LMS. Also, it has to be it has to be adaptable, adaptive technology, adaptable to each and to address, to cater to the needs of each and every learner. So the whole system should be more of transparent and enriching and personalized. So that is, and the learners are also required to sift the information at the knowledge gateways. That means the learners, they should also communicate, transact, and reciprocate in this knowledge creation process. So that is a appropriate the decision of the regarding the appropriacy of the context, what to use, when to use, how to use to transact the teaching, to carry on the teaching learning practices, that has to be also clearly mentioned. So it is called the practice of effective learning management school. So that is why now in all these Moodle and other kinds of things, the learning management of LMS systems are also being used by both the school education and higher education institutions to handle the large classroom, to handle the 100 plus learners, and for not just for transaction, or not just for pedagogy and content delivery, etc., but for the evaluation, but for the result assessment, evaluation, result declaration, sending them the content, everything. For that is why these techno-based learning management systems are also very, very important. So that means now there's a person who is called the teachers, the educators. They have to design an array of learning baskets. It is not just confined to content, lesson plan, and delivery, but they have to design a lot of different buckets to provide the holistic knowledge, preparing the learners for the future, or to prepare for the futuristic knowledge society. And so that is the requirements. Like first is creating a learning culture. Learning culture, that is, now knowledge is being considered as the capital. Knowledge with the increasing focus on social construction of knowledge. Knowledge is, because it is available in the open source. At the same time, it is co-created by the learners himself, learners as well as the teachers and other stakeholders. So it is in the social construction of the knowledge. The increasing focus is on co-creation of knowledge, because that has become the social capital. That has become the knowledge capital of knowledge capital, which can be shared to some extent globally. So celebration of knowledge. So knowledge is not just only for some economic purposes, but its scope and applications are also immense in terms of investment prospects, in terms of job creation, in terms of tool preparation, tool makers, all the for the investment transaction, etc. So the global impact on the learning culture is that it is more of it's not just, it's beyond the beyond the social capital, but it is for the universal global benefit. That is, it's a universal capital, so which is accessible, and which is accessible to everybody. So we cannot limit it within the boundary. We cannot be self-centered. So it is universal. So we are creating the knowledge for the whole universe, for the global citizens. So that is why the pedagogical leadership that is very much required, to be conscious and thoughtful. Then again, creating the knowledge is one thing, navigating the knowledge is another thing, handling the technology to deliver it, transact it effectively, that is another thing. And you know, using the LMS system, knowledge management system, to deal with, to cater to the needs of thousands of learners, the large classrooms, etc. That is another things. So this kind of, you know, techno based ecosystem of the knowledge creation, co-creation, knowledge transaction, and you know, developing the ultimately developing the competencies, skills and competencies. So that is why creating the learning culture is very most important factor. Then nurturing the talent and competencies. Nowadays, you know, in the global context, so it is not just the ethical practices of knowledge sharing, knowledge creation, and creativity, and you know, for the research and etc., but also developing the grooming the talent of the youngsters, and developing all the sustainability competencies, 21st century skills and competence, to enable them to be employed, to get employed in different employed by the global companies. At the same time, this generation, this in the future, they are supposed to be the co-creator, tool makers, you know, creators of job creators also. So that is why, looking into the futuristic possibilities, scope and opportunity, we have to prepare them. So that is the nurturing their talent and competencies, not just for the time limit, but throughout the life. So here another thing is that its shift is towards articulating knowledge system, transaction methodology, etc., which can empower these latent talents and nurture the marketable concepts. Latent talent is that those which are hidden talents are still there. Potential is undiscovered. Potential is are there within the learners. We have to uncover them. We have to extract them. We have to identify them, groom them, nurture them, so that they can be market ready for the future jobs, for the future market. So empowering the latent talents to be nurtured, and then prepare them for the marketable competencies. This is another level challenge. Then therefore therefore you have the teachers, they have to, you know, ensure on the integrity, ethical practice, handling the knowledge, etc. You know, AI is very good, AI tools are available, but how to ethically use AI? Because here another is the data security, data safety, all these things are another important factor. Because you know, data analytics and data management has become very important, because when we come about, you know, predicting the future, predicting the possibilities of the future skills and competencies, when data analytics has become very important, so AI intervention is very much required for the knowledge management and processing. But at the same time, ethical practices, ethical usage, ethical use and integrity of knowledge handling, that has also become very crucial, especially in the tech domains. Now with the post-COVID, many edtech companies, startups, they have come up in a big way. They are doing very good job, great job. But here also, with the increasing advantages, also here also we are also facing the challenges, like, you know, data security, ethical practices, all kinds of things. So pedagogical leaders, they would love, they would have to join the hands with update, not just updating the curriculum and pedagogy, but also to, you know, to nurture the real talent, prepare them for the future jobs, and at the same time to be alert and conscious and ethical about the AI uses. Now then, learning while leading. Again, learning is unstoppable. It's a continuous, it's the lifelong process. So with the pressure of this continuous learning, lifelong, because every day with the open source of knowledge and the globalization, knowledge is being created every moment, every minute, every hour. So its resources are volume, its size and capacity is volume. Then how to, so we are floating in the ocean of knowledge. So how the leaders must engage them with the right kind of knowledge when they are leading. You know, with the open source and the volumes of large volume of information, also it is a real challenge to identify, to customize the whole thing towards the learners' needs, toward the teachers, and that is also another challenge. So learning while leading, we have to proceed lead at the same time we have to learn continuously. So learning and leading have become interdependent in the global workplace. So that is a continuous learning, lifelong learning. Okay, so the professionals, they have to be always stay up to date. So be they maybe the learners, be the professionals, be the teachers, or every sector, every professional, they have to be updated, stay updated for in on everyday basis. But it has come out of the compulsion also. We cannot afford to ignore it. Cannot afford to ignore it, neglect it. Otherwise we'll fall back in the race. So now with the since 1950 or 2015 onwards, UNESCO's development goals, NEP 2020, and with the Sustainable Development Goal 4, that is SDG 4.7, global citizenship, and education for sustainable development. So it has become very vital, very important to motivate and engage the learners, and make them self-reliant learners, self-directed learners, lifelong learners. So we have to prepare the students, their mindset, their attributes, their attitude, their behavior in such a way that they become independent. They own the responsibility for their own learning and future pathways. So we have to design and create and transact the learning process in such a way that to the learners, they become more self-reliant, self-directed, futuristic, and self-learners. So similarly, the pedagogy for a new knowledge construct, that is pedagogy as a facilitator of new knowledge, it has to be constructed and widely discussed among the learners, among the participants, among the stakeholders. So similarly, different pedagogical models would also be there to support the holistic learning and development, curiosity, and creativity and critical thinking. So that means here the psychological domains, attributes, these are equally involved, equally vital in the learning process. How to encourage the curiosity, how to encourage the creative thinking mindset, how to encourage the critical thinking as innovative strategies. All these things, that means all these things should be embedded in the pedagogical model. That is also another requirement. So pedagogy is a positive force of learning that has become the key element. So here, when we compare with other things, now the pedagogy, why the pedagogy has come up as a big challenge and emerging a big factor, because it integrates, it assembles, it embeds every aspect of the learner's behavior, every aspect of the teaching, every component, every aspect of the context, global or contextual factors. So that is why it emphasizes on bringing a paradigm shift. So here, when we focus on all aspect of changes, all aspect of positive changes, transformation towards the futuristic, sustainable education model, then it becomes the transformative learning. So here it is transformative learning to bring the 360-degree positive change in the whole system, ecosystem, not just pedagogy and content, but every aspect of the teaching learning behavior. So that is why the paradigm shift has been in terms of practice, transactions, curriculum, and pedagogy, everything. That is, for example, moving from standard. Earlier, we used to have the standard evaluation, summative method, summative evaluation method, or formative evaluation method, standard type, standardized, test tools as a type thing. But no, now it has been transformed to authentic assessment in terms of portfolios, in terms of projects, in terms of peer feedback, in terms of presentations, in terms of doing some kind of innovative project work, capstone projects, etc. So it's more of it has got more of qualitative assessment of learners understanding attributes and the skills and competencies. So and then again, it is the teacher as an authority. It has moved from teacher as an authority or decision maker towards the teacher as the co-learner, the mentor of a mentor. So why the co-learner? But in the teaching learning process, both the teachers and the learners, they are at the equal stake to learn from each other, co-learners and the mentors. So this is a reciprocated relationship. Similarly, from the now earlier it was more of the physical classroom, isolated classroom, subject classrooms, teacher dominated classroom, prescriptive kind of things. Now it is more of networked communities. So even though you are parallelly you can be a learner of many more than one courses, online and offline, and you have participated in different networks, learning communities, and you practice, you transact, you learn, mutually learn, and you also reciprocate in the same thing. So that is the network communities. That is only from the physical classroom, specific subjective disciplinary classroom, to now in the network communities, global networks in the different areas, in terms of projects, in terms of projects, and in terms of maybe in terms of some valid some lab component, etc. So here 21st century, this pedagogical leadership primarily emphasizes on the collaboration, technology integration, focus on inclusiveness, adaptive learning environment, to meet the diverse needs of the students. Here the students needs have also increased like anything, like skill competencies, then their social emotional need, then their cognitive need. So it is about empower, it is about vision, it is about serving, it is about collaboration, etc. So both the teachers and students, they thrive as the co-creators of the knowledge. So, and that is where research always complements all these kind of things. So suppose to research, that means nowadays if the cognitive emergence of the cognitive science is a combination of computer science, mathematics, and then your psychology and all kinds of the interdisciplinary things. So cognitive science. So with the cognitive emergence of the cognitive science, more and more research is also being done on the brain research. So the brain research, brain research, from the brain research, we have to identify, we have to assume, we have to pick up some of the things, that how to, how each and every learner's learning style is different, how their preferences are different, their curiosity level are different. So when we try to personalize, as individualize the teaching learning practices, then we have to go or refer to the brain research, like how and why their learning styles differ, and motivation changes, motivation level changes, then their curiosity changes, all these things. So it has to be aligned with this brain research, also that is neuroeducational research, neuropsychological research findings also. So that is the key characteristics of 21st century pedagogical leadership, is that it is more of the collaboration and shared decision making. Nowadays when we, like every semester when the students are being offered with the different subjects and etc., it is more of the cafeteria approach. Like a lot of courses are, combinations of the courses are available. Now it is up to them to choose and pick up and attend the classes and complete it. Completed. There are more flexibilities are also available in terms of grading, in terms of activities, etc. So collaboration and shared decision making in terms of sense of ownership and accountability, and because ultimately our focus is more on effective learning outcome, effective professional development, effective transactions, etc. So how to make the pedagogical leaders, not just the leaders to be effective, but the whole teaching learning process, professional learning skills and competencies to be effective. Now, technology integration, we cannot avoid, we cannot ignore technology. Technology has come up in a big way. So earlier just post COVID, it was more of not techno tools, digital tools, but now AI has come up in a big way, and it's in the volume of there is, in terms of size and scale, it is also enormous. But how to scale up, how to leverage these digital tools, how to streamline its operations and things for our better communication, better transaction, better learning, that is also another things. Because with the technology integration, not only it fastens it gives us enough of resources, etc., but how to use it strategically, it has become a challenging for both the teachers as well as the learners. Learners, they use it, they're smart enough, they use it, leverage it, and deliver it quickly through the copy paste and by AI, using the AI tool like ChatGPT and other kinds of things. But at the same time, it has the risks also. It is that we have to use it as a tool also. Or if we become the victim of, slave of that tool, then we will lose our creativity, or our originality, or our creativity and original and curiosity also. So that has to be also taken care of. So that is transformational leadership also, how to enhance the creativity, the original thinking, the critical thinking, all kinds of things among the learners, how to carry forward the continuous improvement culture, how to develop the culture of empowerment, engagement, and equal distribution of ownership. That is important in the educational institution, and how to make the learner self-sufficient and take the ownership of his own learning. That is also important and very challenging. Now, here is also at the same time focus on educational policies, like focus on inclusivity and how to handle diversity, how to personalize the learning, how to create the inclusive and educational model, how to address the diverse learning styles, how to create a holistic ecosystem, educational ecosystem. These are another factors. And then adaptability and continuous learning. Ultimately, not only we have to be adaptable with the technology, new technology, new courses and content, etc. But at the same time, we have to be open-minded in receiving new ideas, practices, and at the same time to be original thinker, creative thinker, to create something new. So, so that is the challenges for the, not just for the present is there, but future directs for future also the challenges are there. However, so we have to prepare ourselves, we have to get ready, and we have to be get ready with more inquisitiveness, more curiosity, more resilience, more positive mindset and open-mindedness. That is this is because in future we are going to face. We have to predict it, assume it, and prepare ourselves for future, for be the to be the future professional, future teachers, and the future employees. So need for the professional development, it has to be continuous, and balancing both balancing the traditional educational practices with the innovative practices. So here, as because we are focusing more on 21st century digital tool, AI based learning, etc., etc., we were not completely rejecting or outdating or the old or traditional practices. We must take the selective beneficial practices from the traditional thing, then switch on to the then how to blend it perfectly for our benefit. So now the thing is that yes, now towards the end, we can say this is toward these are the emerging characteristics, and we have to move on toward the future by adopting. These are some of the strategies needed for transformation. So first is that definitely we have to develop a transformative eco-learning ecosystem by adopting new leadership practices, and it's not, we should not be complacent with whatever we are doing right now with AI tools. So we have to be always keen and innovative and inquisitive towards the future. So to develop a culture of empowerment, engagement, excellence, that has to be there in the ecosystem. Second is that we can focus on student-teacher relationships, student-centered again, we have to develop this leadership quality among the students also. So all learners should feel valued, supported, and capable of reaching to their full potential. How to uncover, discover their hidden talents, their latent talents, and how to groom them, nurture them to flourish as a very good professional, very potential, talented citizen, talented professional for future. That is also important, and continuous professional development both for the educators, for the learners, for the stakeholders, for the students, that is a continuous professional development to stay up to date in the latest teaching method, technology, and leadership, even leadership practices. That is also important. Now coming to the AIS, the data analytics, how to leverage the big data. That is important because big data helps us in some predicting the future, and this it gives us the evidence for decision making practices, because we have to, when we look into the future with the huge capacity of human resource capacities and which huge talent, etc., what should be the future scenario, future outcome, then we have to predict it. For the predictive analytics, we have to leverage the data analytics, for which we have to use the technology in a big way. So similarly, educational leaders, they must also create the flexible structure and resilient ecosystem, which can quickly, strategically respond to emerging challenges like addressing to educational policies and economic fluctuation, geopolitical situations, global crisis, trade wars, and political, political hustles, political, war-like situations, to face all kinds of socio-political, economical challenges. So to be so innovative here, again, the leader has to be innovative. So innovative educational leadership is also very much required for the commitment to inclusivity and equity. Innovative leadership, educational leadership, inclusive leadership practices for to develop a sense of belongingness, to develop to be very critical for the academic success, professional personal development, community involvement, local partners, all these things. These are also very much required, and leaders also must prioritize creation of the safe, supportive environment So it has to be, that means overall we can say the holistic system, we have to adopt a whole school approach, whole institution approach to create all the positive vibes and features and components, and with the positive mindset, growth mindset, so that everybody, every stakeholder will be equally benefited. And here, yes, definitely students, learners are our target audience. So along with learners are definitely, they have to be handled with care, they have to be given more attention. And but at the same time, to deal with for their betterment, to deal with the learners and to personalize their learning, we need to update, groom our teachers also equally through continuous professional learning development. So therefore, nowadays, today is in 21st century, at this point of time, no, uh, pedagogical leadership has emerged as the most important factor. Similarly, in the organizations also, leadership, the definition and connotation of leadership is are also getting unfolded, are getting redefined. An organizational sector is also more of nurturing leadership, more of sustainable leadership, all kinds of things. Similarly, so this is slowly and steadily, all of us, we have to work together to to get the maximum benefit of AI technology, and to uncover, discover, and innovate the new facets of educational ecosystem.
See, teachers have different types of skills and styles. So, how to integrate different styles and better learning outcomes?
Okay, so every, like, just like the learner, a student, every student is unique, is individual. Similarly, that individual difference is also there among the teachers. So, like, here we have to, again, how the corporates, they run their business. Initially, they do a need assessment. Similarly, so nowadays, now we have this eligibility criteria, some basic guidelines, some things to recruit the teachers, etc. In spite of that, at the beginning, like the young tutors, the freshers, when they come and join the organization's institution, we have to assess their needs first. That means here it shows their strengths and weaknesses, and in which area they are good at, in which area they need more training, etc. Accordingly, we have to design the professional development programs to groom them, to nurture them very beginning. Okay, so when we assess their needs, definitely we could know that, we can know that, yes, they are good. Some teachers are very good in mathematics, they are very good in leadership, they are very good in social service, but that is their strength areas. But if they need something else, so we have to make use of these kind of teachers for ecosystem, for a holistic development or administrative purpose. At the same time, if they want something else in the sense that they are not good at this communication, they're not good at this, we have to, so according to the professional development and training programs would be organized. So that is one thing. So in this way, initially, freshers, the young teachers, in the beginning, first 2 years, first joining to 2 years, within 2-3 years, we need to train them, groom them first. So then their potentials can be leveraged, their abilities, aptitudes can be leveraged. Okay, I think you are muted. You are muted.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Yeah, thank you so much. We have another question here. What classroom strategies can be used to make learning truly collaborative and socially constructed, where every learner participates equally and students develop ownership of knowledge as a kind of
Okay.
social capital? Yeah.
Okay, from my experience, what I'm saying, that if, we cannot, from my experience, I can say that um, every class is different. Every classroom is different. But yes, suppose I'm going to the class. Okay. First, in the first 2-3 introductory classes, I have to know about what are the characteristics of my learners, what are their expectations, what do they want from me, and what they already know it, and which area they are keen to learn. I have to assess all these. Initial assessments would be done. Accordingly, because they learners are the key stakeholders, they are the nucleus. So without understanding them, I cannot decide that how I can make use of them, or how I can tell them to participate in the classroom discussion. I cannot ensure that. So we need to understand their needs, their strengths, and then again, suppose I have designed a course. Okay, by giving showing the overview of the whole courses, then I have to understand, I have to ask them, what do they expect from me, from this course, what they're supposed to learn, and what they are keen at. All these, after all this kind of, that is where the communication is very important. Communication is very important. That is after understanding, that means again, it is a kind of, establishing a relationship first, human relationship, because these are all human resources. After that understanding, after setting up that relationship, then yes, they understand better, they understand us better, and we can also understand it. So we have to understand their needs. And moreover, in the class, that is why the class, suppose the class, we cannot now, because of the shortage of, we cannot restrict our classroom size to 50 or 30. Now it is beyond our capacity, because in the school level it can be possible, but not in the university level. So thing is that, but overall, nowadays teaching assistants are there, students, research scholars are there to help us. To if any individual learner, they're facing some problem, they can directly go to the TAs, etc. The message will come to us, or they can address the thing. But it's to handle the large classes. But suppose it is the classroom of the 50, then after, we have to do initially we can also do some kind of assessments, by self-check exercises, like what you love, what you want to know, etc. All kinds of questions to understand them, to understand their needs. Then the next challenge is how to engage them. How to engage them. So because engagement is very important. Like, how to engage them. Unless and until the learners are engaged, the outcome will be zero. Okay, so they're just coming for the routine work, this they don't care for, etc. Somehow to pass on the time casually, etc. No, that is then it is then it will be the waste. It is the wastage of resources, time. So to understand, after understanding the need, again, now here the real challenge for the teacher is that how to motivate, how to bring them to the main platform of listening to you, understanding what you are thinking. And you have to be innovative. The teachers, they have to be innovative, not just in terms of content, but in terms of engaging the learners. Engaging the learners. Now across the level, across the institute, the students are only grade oriented, CGPA oriented, grade oriented. Okay, so grade oriented. So their primary focus is how to get a good marks, good CGPA, good grade, and just leave the things. But yes, that is important. Nobody says no. But along with that, at least, like for example, I am offering a social science course or psychology course or education course. At least my purpose would be, my objective, that at least, even though they are very tech savvy people, at least from my course, they must at least learn and understand 30%, which will be stayed with them for a long term duration. Okay, so at least from my 100% course, at least they should receive, they should understand, they should take up 30%. 30% of the essence of that thing, so they can. So again, it is a real challenge for me how to present the same thing in a very interesting way, so that they will be motivated towards you. So again, learner engagement, like for example, it's not prescriptive, I will just prepare the PPT and carry on and dictate and go on the repeating the PPTs. No, for every sentence, I have to ask them questions. So here, dialogue, having the questions, asking the questions, and this is another way of engaging them, having dialogue and asking the questions. Okay, so for everything, then you ask, we used to ask it, why it happens, how it happens, in your case, what you would have done. So that is the way to engage them. So strategically, tactfully, we have to engage them. And yes, then, and again, another thing is that mode of evaluation, it's not just pen and paper, etc. I have the experience that the students who are sincere, who are really motivated, they come to the class. But when that means, but how to, that means their focus is how to face the good marks. But most of the students, they don't, 40% students, they don't come to, they just rely on the PPTs. So when preparing the questions, I don't give the direct question, I just give them the application oriented question. They can give their own real life examples or any case study, etc. That is another strategy to make them engaged in the learning process or come to the class. Then an evaluation process. Evaluation is not just pen and paper, it is the teamwork, collaborative work. I used to give them some projects, some presentations, some things, so that collaboratively they will do it. And there are different categories of engagement, and which accordingly, it is not dependent, it's not just depends on the mid-sem and some questions and evaluation, but also multiple openings, multiple windows of doing certain things, which will be ultimately evaluated qualitatively at the end of the semester.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, we have a question from Suja Kumari and Beauty Day. Ma'am, what practical classroom strategies can we adopt to positively engage mischievous and frequently disturbing students without affecting the learning of others?
Okay, this thing is that, again, the stage, what is the stage of the students? If they are at the school stage, then it is difficult, it's a difficult task. If they are in the college stages, higher college level, so primarily, primarily the general feature is that they're coming to the class for the attendance or maybe under pressure, something like that, but they'll be engaged in their mobiles. That is the usual scenario. Okay, so how to distract them from the mobiles? Again, yes, you have to certain some extent, you have to be a little bit strict and straightforward, and you have to say that for my classroom these are the protocols, strict in terms of their behavior. Yeah. But you have to be flexible in terms of timing, like suppose somebody is coming late, this and that, don't be so that rigid, but you have to be straightforward in some in terms of its ethical practices that you are expecting from them, like then regularities, or being silent, being disciplined, being remaining silent even if you're not learning, you're not interested, don't disturb others. These are rules and regulations. You have to specify it, you have to clearly classify it from the very beginning. So initially 2-3 classes will be spent on these things to understand each other, and the students, they also, from their end, they are also trying to perceive you, trying to understand you, that what the teachers would be, but predicting, they are also assuming certain things from my side, from teacher side. So initially 2, 3, 4 classes will go, that the teacher's perception about the students needs, students this, the students requirement, and the students perception about the student, about the teachers, how strict, how confident, how things, this kind of what type of teacher he is. Their assessment is also equally thing. Okay, that is the thing. For initially 2-3 classes will go that. After that, then you will. But yes, the real challenge for the teacher is that even if you are even if you are teaching a most simple topic, like in social science, suppose it is democracy, or it is geopolitics, or it is whatever, diversity, whatever, but you have to present it looking at their intelligent level, looking at their motivation, like looking at their intelligence, like aptitude and attention, etc. You have to present it in a different way in UK. So teachers themselves have to be creative. Like, for example, if you repeat just in the regular whatever it is they are and do and this, etc., they will just ignore it because they are too intelligent to come in comparison to teachers. Like our in IITs, our students are they're smart, so too smart in comparison to teachers. So so you have to drag their attention, draw their attention. We have to be continuous learners. Like same topic for every semester batch students, you have to teach in different way, with more case studies, with more real life examples, live examples, etc. We have to be innovative and creative. Definitely.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll take up one final question here. It's from Shahira. How to manage hyperactive students in the classroom for school level?
School level. Yes, school level, these issues are there, attention deficit, hyperactivity, or maybe that. So here another, that is why it is, it is very much mandatory, I believe, that the guidance and counseling cell is a mandatory component for the school education. Even it is also there for the higher education. Like counseling is there to address your drawbacks, you address your problems, issues, etc. But in the school level, I'm saying that both the guidance and the counseling is there to deal with your problems, issues, etc., misconduct or attention deficit, etc. But guidance is there. Like suppose some students, some children, they are hyperactive because they are too energetic, and they're not motivated for the studies. So here we have to assess their strengths. Accordingly, we have to guide them, groom them. Like some people who are actually real sportsmen, or they have the potential, immense energy, potentiality for being a very sportsman, and now they are being confined in a particular room to study mathematics or science, etc. They will be distracted, and sometimes to draw some people, because of it's some psychological issues are also there, like because the child feels the student learner feels that, oh, I'm not too good in studies, and etc. They are fetching the good marks, they are drawing the love and affection of the teachers, I'm being neglected, and to get the attention, draw the attention, also the intentionally they are doing it. So guidance is there, guidance services is there, should be there in the educational institution at the school level to identify the attributes, the skills, the aptitudes, the potentialities of each and every learner. That means where they are good at and how their energies and the skills and talents can be leveraged, can be utilized. And if they're not good at these kind of things, so how not to give them more extra pressure or burden of completing the exam. So guidance services, that is to identify their strengths, their weaknesses, their attributes, so that they will be empowered to take the right decision, so that there will not be any mismatch and there will not be any. These all kinds of disturbances are because of a misunderstanding, communication gap, and they are not being understood. And there is a communication gap between, because we think that everybody should be streamlined into the same level and in the classroom. No, why they are behaving, always ask the question of why and how and when, all these things. If they are behaving, why they are behaving. Maybe the teacher can call these students individually to their room, special, and the special especially for discussing, having some one-to-one discussion and finding out the problems, why they are. So by being empathetic, compassionate, they can find out the real reason behind these things. Hyperactive, yes, hyperactive students are not, they're too energetic, and that is one thing, is that they're too energetic and their energies are not being channelized. Another thing is that with they need some special attention, so that is that the tutorials or special classes are there. And third thing is that in the large classroom, they feel like they are lost in the classroom, they are not motivated, etc. But they need one-to-one counseling to identify the reason why they are doing, then that is why the parent teacher associations are there. The parents may be informed about that. So but first the teacher is that is he or she has to identify the reason behind his behavior.